Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this public poetry program, the reading series that's now a long-standing program between public poetry and the Houston Public Library. So thank you very much. Please do visit houstonpubliclibrary.org and see everything that we have to offer. And I'm going to turn it over to Fran, but just quickly also, I know several of you are looking forward to reading for open mic, so use your raise hand feature so that we can know to call on you during that time. And I believe we're going to turn off everyone's videos just during the featured speakers reading at the beginning and when they read after the open mic. So just to let you know about that. So Fran, take it away.
Hi, I just want to say welcome to all of you, and it's great to have you here. Couple of quick announcements about public poetry. We have a really exciting contest going on, which uses film and video of 1.5 minutes as prompts. There are 5 different videos and films, and I hope that you will think about responding to those. The ones that are chosen will be screened at Real Poetry, which is an international film and video poetry festival that takes place February 24th through 28th. Just one other announcement, which is that in November, we will be launching the Wicked Wit anthology with readings from that, and I hope you'll all be there for that. So let me introduce Leela Merrill, who volunteers with public poetry, and she is going to be introducing our featured poets. Take it away, Leela.
Hi, everybody. Glad you're here. Our first featured poet is Eris Keon. Eris is an inaugural member of Coug Slam, a collegiate poetry slam team that ranked 4th in the nation last year. Remember 2019? She is ranked number 10 in the 2020 Women of the World Poetry Slam. She is an emerging writers fellow with Writers in the Schools and an in-print C. Glenn Camber fellow at the University of Houston. Currently, she explores poetry surrounding her experience with academia, abolition, and the Black imagination. Please welcome Eris Keon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your introduction, and thank you all for being here. I'm literally honored to be next to such lovely, amazing writers. So thank you all for having me. The first poem I'm going to do, it's near and dear to my heart because somebody asked me if I could haunt any space, what would it be? And since I'm in a program that's almost entirely white, or at least when I wrote the poem, it was almost entirely white. And so I'm one of the only Black creative writing students in my nearly all white institution. So I said I'd haunt the fuck out of academic spaces. I'd smear my blood over wooden bookcases, watch it drip on the covers, cover the names in red, wash these authors out of the canon. I am my own canon, which is to say I am a weapon that houses a magnificent destruction, which is to say I am my own poem. And what is a poem if not the weapon and the gun smoke? If not the trigger and the boom in the twilight after it's long gone? If not a song that clings to your chest at night? If not the words you can't forget? My spirit would belt her own lyrics in the middle of a syllabus, make jazz chords of a lesson plan. I'd like these desks to hum with every argument I started with a white professor on Dickinson or Williams or whoever frost these floors in an ice cold hush when I enter. I am the one you won't forget. I am the one they warned about statistics. How hard it is to enter a room that never had a door for me. How I shouldn't be here. How, in other worlds, my name is chiseled onto more gravestones than degrees. How Black is both the weapon and the gun smoke. But if I walk through walls that tried to shut me out, then I must be the pettiest ghost. Ride the tails of my petticoat as I cast a lovesick haunting on every ivory tower. Where depression tried to shut me out. Where application fees tried to shut me out. Where the GRE works hard, but my GOD works harder. 21 credits and 2 jobs were nothing but a soul search. I am a poltergeist of high price and mighty persistence. And what is a ghost, if not a holy hope, if not a wish for a finishing, if not a living reminder of what they thought they could kill? And still, everyone asks me or tells me, don't be afraid to take up space. They do not see how much of me already fills the room first. Their idea of me walked in before I did. Said she should be loud. She should carry the conversation for us. Said Black girls be a token I can cash out, be the Black friend I can reference when she's not around. My anxiety is always on my left. She thinks faster than I speak. My doubt, she's on my right. She'll take a compliment to chew on and spit back up. My morning, afternoon, and midnight depression form a line in front of me. Hold hands like the saddest game of Red Rover anytime someone comes too close. My fear is composed of 3 of me. Me number 1 had to convince me to come up here. Me number 2 had to convince us to write this. Me number 3 told 1 and 2 I'd fail in every line. I see the extrovert who wants to love me, who wants to love everyone when they hop off the stage. I see the introvert who absolutely wants to just end the Zoom call. I see my ego. It's actually 8 Meg Thee Stallions twerking in the back like, bitch, you the shit. But my self-esteem is Tina Belcher from Bob's Burgers, but what if you're not? They tell me to take up space. They do not see that I am more than they could ever fathom. And what is God if not 3 of themselves in one? Am I not made in their image? If I learned anything from the Trinity, it's that godliness is having multitudes in oneself, each one capable, each one worthy of praise and lovers of all of us. No one sees how long it took to love all of me, how I fill a room without having to enter, how my name has its own gravitational pull. They tell me, take up space. They do not see that I am a planet, that I contain a universe in all 5 of me. I am space. You can't take nor have it taken from me. Black girl, be down to earth. Black girl, be gravity. Black girl, don't mind making space for other people. Be lucky I share it with you. I didn't have to do that. Instead of telling me what to take, tell me thank you instead. And this last poem I'm going to read is actually inspired by something that just happened to me recently. It's called A Reply. An email reaches my inbox, and I am once again reminded diversity does not see the person behind the color as long as the color is the subject line. My name underlined along the side of another Black person's face, my words erased from my lips, cut and pasted, handed off since all us Blacks be saying the same things. Like we be the BCC on all you send, the afterthought, the ones who get apologies in private but embarrassed online. I compose a reply. Ask myself if the subject should be honest, should wear my anger in all caps, should capture my sadness at the blatant oversight of this unfortunate mishap, but I decided against it. Once again, forced to second guess a microaggression, forced to question if a Black person makes a scene, but they're never seen in the first place, does it make a difference at all? And this be the conundrum, how Black people must dissect how they respond to how someone responds to them, knowing the responsibility always rests on the ones who don't get the benefit of the doubt, who spend a lifetime getting paid to shout by the very ones who refuse to listen, who knows that regardless of how many poems you write about being overlooked, there will always be folks who tell you to be grateful to be in the room in the first place. And I hate how much I believe them. I'm handed crumbs of attention so others can say they listened without having to hear me. I compose a reply, whispering into a void, knowing that I'll never send it. Since every opportunity relies on my composure, how well I craft this facade of understanding so I'm still invited into rooms that struggle to see the person behind the color. I reply with the only thing I hold closer than anger, hope, praying that someone, anyone, will hear me and see me too. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Bravo. Sometimes I wish we had actual hands clapping, but there is a button for that on Zoom, if nothing else. That was great. Our next poet is Kaya Osborne, AKA Calypso. Calypso is a Sacramento-based poet, activist, and actor. They are fat, Black, neurodivergent, queer, and badass. Their work can be found in Calamus Journal, Drunk in a Midnight Choir, Rigorous Journal, What's Good Magazine, and Shade Journal, as well as others. They are a Leo Virgo cusp, and you can find them on Twitter at Calypso the Poet. Please welcome Calypso.
Hello. Coming on the camera real quick to say hello, and then I'm going to read the poems off the phone. So this first poem is called Boy Crazy, as one word, Boy Crazy. I'm 20. Art has returned to my bones, my heart on my sleeve and staining my shadow boxing gloves. The secret to falling in love is you have to give up on it. Like the cheapest styrofoam philosopher's stone, apparently, desire is the qualifier. See, no one told me you'll die before you find the right guy. If you're searching for him in every new cathedral window of eyes, it's no lie. Every blessing and curse comes in disguise. God said so. You just gotta open your eyes. Wait, no. That's not a good place to start. I am 17 years old and my period has stopped. Many griefs have swiped their mercury-dipped talons at my throat, and perhaps my tongue and womb have traded places. I cry to anyone who'll listen, bemoaning a faded priority, snapshots of a hospital bed and my proud blood introducing love's final product. That's not a good place to start. I'm 5 and I have no friends. Something is alive in me. I wish it were a child, but I'm not allowed to want those kinds of things this young. A boy named Angel sits next to me on the bus ride home until I kiss him without asking at a bus stop once. The next day, he sits somewhere else. I like to read books about families and watch TV shows where mommies give birth. Babies are so cute. Daddies are so strong. I want to give something a name that can't walk away. That's not a good place to start. I am 18 and driving an hour and a half for a hookup. No worries on where. That's nobody's business. He smells like relish, tastes like spoiled milk. I tell him I'm down for most things, just no ass stuff. He's got a firm grip and a nice stroke. He seems like he has so many plans for his life. That's not a good place to start. I wasn't on my birth control. That's not a good place to start. He took the condom off without telling me. That's not a good place to start. He held me for a bit while we kissed, and I wondered if he'd ever loved a Black girl. He had nice eyes for a white boy. That's not a good place to start. After I was colonized and he laid his flag, I text my best friend, and she tells me to go to the police. I don't tell her why I went, and she doesn't ask. There's no need. We both know how lonely I've been lately. She and I are not friends anymore, but it's not about that. That's not a good place to start. At the police station, they ask me questions, take my statement, say, we have enough to go get this guy if you want. I ask, how many of these cases do you see a conviction happen though? Their answer would be hopeful if it didn't take 10 seconds between two men to come. They give me a flashing escort to the hospital for the exam, and I wonder if I speed my car into the bobbing purple lights ricocheting off the center divide of the highway, will I float on an ocean of my own shattered intuition? That's not a good place to start. At the hospital, the nurse examiner lady asks me questions in a soft voice. She's white and blonde and beautiful. I want to feel safe talking to her, but the cops are right there, and I feel so much like a Hottentots vivisection. All I can do is ask her how often she has to do this. It takes her too long to say not too often. When it's time to photograph my lacerated country, I ponder the merits of karma and love, wondering if all the lies I told about who has touched me prior earned me this. She gently cracks me open wider, and I flood the trembling sand dunes of my thighs red. She asks if I can get pregnant, hands me a cup before I can reply anyway. I have PCOS. This is the most I've bled down here in months, I joke. Her laugh is so uneasy, like she's never met a stupid, lonely girl before. That's not a good place to start. I am 3, and it is recess at preschool. No one has explained hate to me yet, but I am alone all the time anyway. Nobody calls me their friend anyway. The other kids play house together, draw on the floor their future forebears. They are mommies and daddies and aunties and uncles. Someone just had a new baby and their home is warm and full of laughter when they arrive. The baby is awake, their eyes wide and shining, with nowhere else to go and not knowing any better at all. They have no choice but to love anything that they can see. That was my first one. Thank you for that. And my second one is called Perhaps It Is Time to Admit None of Us Actually Want to Be Children Again. Hearing things wasn't so scary back in the day. Heartbreak could come and go fast as a water balloon popping over our crispy summer toes. The first barbecue, we found out our grandfathers would not make it out of their cigarettes alive. When fights ended in laughter and boastful breath. We're mean now. We've watched someone spill their stuttering lilies into the hungry gutter. We've watched a child empty and swell, empty and swell, empty and swell into the wind's greedy clutches, a scream's foliage blasting its burgundy spores into our mouths. I was in love. There were some deaths. Now I cannot trust the world with my spit, let alone my blood, let alone my flesh, let alone my love. No, I am no longer devastated. I don't ovulate. Everything costs so much nowadays, and I waste enough water as is, crying for free over people that don't know my middle name. I hate, and I've never been so alive. I hate. And the darkest shades of blue spin into terror. I used to have a favorite color, and now I don't waste my time loving anything which can kill me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. That was amazing. Thank you. Our next poet is Alexis Mercedes. Alexis is a poet, musician, and visual artist based here in Houston. Their poetry reviews and interviews have been published in the Bayou Review, Wineskin, Defunct Magazine, The Barker's Voice, Texas Best Emerging Poets, and Brazos Bookstore. They've twice been a featured reader for Houston's Gentle Hour reading series. Alexis currently works as a barista and a freelance artist. Please welcome Alexis Mercedes.
Hi, y'all. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate being here with you all. I have a few poems to read first about mothers. So let me start with those. Okay, so my first one is Summer at My House. My mom is standing with her blueberry jam jars that sit along the counter row by row. Her blue eyes and small smile remain down as she scrubs her fingers on the red and white checks of her apron. They will expire one day, but now they are fresh and sweet. Blueberry sugar rounds my stomach like hers. I shiver in wet sun straps when the breeze floats in the screen door after a sweaty day. In this moment, I am aware, resting my head on the cool glass table with dirt in my fingernails and tired feet, that she will leave the earth soon. A catch in my breath when she lights through the doorway, the scent of gardenia drifting away. Next, I have Portrait of My Mother. It's a sestina I wrote a little while ago that that I just really enjoyed. Portrait of my mother. My family tends to scatter. We were taught by my mother, and that time we went to Santa Monica Pier, I was young, but I knew that when mom wants to be alone, she screams at us and into the great big. We all disappeared for hours. When I walked away with my sister, I spent the next few hours kneeling in the sand, where the pebbles scatter into blues, reddish golds, marbled greens, with my big Ziploc baggie. I thought about my mother who wanted to be alone while all that time passed, and I was so young. I watched her from a distance, her thin, young legs reflecting in the water as she dreamed about the hours she could have taken for herself had she been alone, without that first baby at 18. She may have scattered amongst the pencil skirts in her dream job had she not been a mother, her belly so round and so big. In her belly, my long legs bulged big and pushed against her skin. My young, soft mouth pursed in a pensive frown. My mother sang to me after I was born for hours. Her voice filled my ears and scattered through my brain, sounding again and again in my head when I was alone. It was that song, Jesus, 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 I sang alone. But in the kitchen, her yells reverberated through such a big, raw throat, angry about anything, and the glass shards would scatter across the floor. I heard them, my ears were still young, so I held my body close in the long hours and sang to myself like a mother. Years later, I am out of the house. Here sits my mother. I watch her in the white rocking recliner alone, swaying softly and watching TV for hours. My tears are wet and big, and I don't think that she has loved me since I was very, very young. I will not scream, but I do scatter. She's my mother. Alone in my mind, the memories scatter into small years, into hours, when I was still young, and her love was so full, so big. And I have one more poem for this section. It's called My Mother, All Mothers. The clean white cigarette crackles red in the air when my mother lights its end. Yellow meets red meets black while I think about baby blue. My mother could have been Clementine without the fire, the blows to body and spirit, lying on the ground next to the red-hot heater, crowded between shoulders of bony brothers, shivering sisters, skins curled taut and creeping, cuddled with ashtrays. The burning in the lungs and on their lips, in their fingertips. My mother, all mothers. If abuse cycles down, what mother and lover will I be? When my grandmother hits, my mother hits, and I hit too, hard and full and everywhere at once. We children have been flayed while living, and yes, it's true, we are burning too from the same cigarettes my mother's mother lit 50 years ago in the den of an Oklahoma field house, the rug fringed with red and purple threads, stained in consequence and plunged with Lysol after the brawls, eyes dried up and embedded in sticky cheeks. She is burning. We are burning. The encompassing flame. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Our next poet is January Gill O'Neill. She is an associate professor at Salem State University. She is also the author of Rewilding, Misery Islands, and Underlife, all of which were published by Cavan-Carey Press. From 2012 through 2018, she served as the executive director of the Massachusetts Poetry Festival and currently serves on the boards of AWP, Mass Poetry, and Montserrat College of Art. She has received fellowships from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, Cavacanum, and the Barbara Deming Memorial Fund. O'Neill was the 2019-2020 John and Renee Grisham Writer-in-Residence at the University of Mississippi, Oxford. Please welcome January Gill O'Neill.
Okay, thanks everyone. Hi, I'm here in Massachusetts and you all are far away. So it's good that we can do this and be a little closer. So I'm gonna read 3 poems. Because of COVID and the pandemic, we haven't been going out like we used to. About 2 years ago, one of our beloved landmarks closed. It was a roller rink. And being a single mom of 2 kids, I don't get out to dance much, but I always love going roller skating because for a few minutes, I got to be, you know, just sort of, well, I got to be a woman versus a mother. So this is my love song to that place. Night at the Roller Palace. After the birthday crowds thin out, after the hokey pokey and chicken dance, after the parents have towed their shaky kids like cabooses ready to decouple, and the pint-sized skaters have circled the rink like a gang of meerkats spun into a 10-car pileup, you turn sideways and angle by as another one bites the dust, thumps overhead. You give a finger point to the DJ stand because in your mind, we are all soldiers in the march against time, grooving to the retro beat, while the disco ball shines overhead, cut crystal against rainbow walls. You glide like Mercury or Apollo Ono without wings or skin suit in lowrider jeans that hug your body like you hug corners, past them all on the smoothed out parquet floor, worn down by rhythm and time. The trick is to make it look effortless. Remind them that your quickness is a kind of love. You are the spark between wood and wheel. And when your cranky kids hang out by the wall, ready to go, holding those 8 wheels by their brown leather tongues, you give them a wave and keep circling. Just one more song, you say. This is your me time. It's all skate. You've got your whole self in. That's what it's all about. And so the next poem is for my son, who is now 16 and about to go off to his first job. Hoodie. A gray hoodie will not protect my son from rain, from the New England cold. I see the partial eclipse of his face as his head sinks into the half dark and shades his eyes. Even in our quiet suburb with its unlocked doors, I fear for his safety, the darkest child on our street in the empire of blocks. Sometimes I do not know who he is anymore, traveling the back roads between boy and man. He strides a deep stride, pounds a basketball into wet pavement. Will he take his shot, or is he waiting for the open mouth orange rim to take a chance on him? I sing his name to the night, ask for safe passage from this borrowed body into the next, and wonder who could mistake him for anything but good. And I'll read one more. On occasion, I have been told that I look like our former First Lady, not the current. On being told I look like Flotus, New Year's Eve party 2014. Deep in my biceps, I know it's a compliment, just as I know this is an all Black people look-alike moment. So I use the minimal amount of muscles to crack a smile. All night he catches sight of me, or someone like me, standing next to the deconstructed cannoli and empty bottles of Prosecco. And in that moment, I understand how little right any of us have to be whomever we are, the constant tension of making our way in this world on hope and change. You're working your muscles to the point of failure, Michelle Obama once said about her workout regimens. But she knows we wear our history in our darkness, in our patience. A compliment is a compliment, this I know, just as the clock will always strike midnight and history repeats. This is how I can wake up the next morning and love the world again. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have our open mic. You can use the raise hand function. You can say something in the chat. I'm gonna try to switch over to gallery view. No, it doesn't show me. Okay, I see 3 raised hands. Great. Okay, let's start with LH, followed by Gary. And I'm gonna mess up your name, I'm sorry. Kayanaja? Sorry. Let's start with LH. Is the person still here? Can we get video and audio? Don't hear anything. Let's see, what have we got in the chat? Okay. So.
It says you can't get video.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back if we can. How about Gary? Gary, you ready?
Okay, I am ready.
Go for it.
Pardon?
Go for it, sorry.
Okay, eye of the dark. What do you see when you lie in your bed alone in the dark? What do you see when you've done what you've done? Said what you've said, reasoned what you've reasoned? What do you see when all the things you left undone, left unsaid, are still undone, unsaid? What do you see when there's nothing to do but sleep and sleep won't come? What do you see when all the thoughts you left unthought rustle in the dark? What do you see? What looks back when you stare into the unblinking eye of the dark?
That's great. Okay, do we want to try again with LH? Still seeing you. Okay, let's go with the gentleman whose name I've unfortunately butchered. Could you tell me how to say it?
Well, it's Kayanaja.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hello, I'm Kayanaja, a young 14-year student from Nigeria. I'm about to read out my poem entitled Let's Not Wait Until This Is All Over, which is based on the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and encourages people to keep pushing hard despite the challenges caused by the pandemic. In every nation, the year 2020 was proclaimed, but the year we thought would burn so brightly suddenly grew dim. Thousands fell, many at a sight, leaving fear in our hearts, possible calamities on our minds. Yet with kindness and patience, doctors and nurses tended for us. For their advice and cares, thank yous are barely enough. There's a lesson in their giving, to not just see yourself, but see others too. What they do regularly can all. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if Sandy Horton can do this. Are you ready, Sandy?
Says the host has disabled my video. Oh, now it says I can start my video. Okay, there we go. Okay, I have a short poem and music to go with it. I'm a musician also. It's called The Holes. There is no flute music without holes. Notes come through the holes to lift the human spirit through the emptiness. As notes float, lives are connected. The music breathes a new life, filling the holes in the souls of all who listen and the player. And I have a little flute who's going to play you some music has his mask on because he's been to the beach and he couldn't play without his mask. And I hope my holes filled holes in your soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, let's see if we can have Purvadri, followed by Rebecca and Janet.
Hello, I'm Purvadri from India, and I'm going to read out a poem dedicated to my father. I wrote it previously when I was quite young. A gentleman with trimmed hair, a small moustache, and a short head. A person who is happy everywhere is my dad. The one who takes me through all my troubles. At the night, he slowly cripples to make me jump in fright. Later, to hug him really tight. He's sometimes my hero, sometimes my guide, sometimes my playmate who loves to seek and hide. He teaches me poems and how to recite it, but he teaches me math in spite of me being a zero in it. He's sometimes funny, sometimes sad. Seldom think that he's really too bad. But the next moment, I jump up in joy as he comes from the office, presenting me with toy. He is the one whom I admire the most, because he's sometimes serious and sometimes scary as a ghost. I can hug him, kiss him, on the other hand, beat him, and read stories together and see him in a dream. And the only young lad, none other than my dad.
Thank you. Rebecca?
Oh, hi. See if I can get my, oh, it's there. Hi, everybody. A real quick, short little poem called Verses. And that's all I'm going to say. 1. Tipping the chalice toward my lips makes it easier to sip. 2. I don't trust the acolyte's hands to tilt the cup. 3. Does a cup have to be gold to be of value? 4. To impart eternity? 5. Why salvation if there is no hell? 6. My family asked me to Easter dinner. 7. I want to go. I love lamb. 8. But don't. 9. Naming gratitudes at Thanksgiving rather than praying dodges my hypocrisy. 10. Turkey, dressing, and yams offer no more grace than the banal wafer. 11. I refuse to tongue. 12. Oh, love, how deep, how broad, how high. 13. I pass on ecstasy. 14. I'm too busy cleaning wine out of my best white shirt. Thanks.
Thank you. Is Janet ready? And could we have Harvey after Janet?
Wait, you got to unmute. There's Janet. Me.
Oh, hello.
He's with us. He's really Bernie.
I'm Bernie. So I'll read a poem for you. Why do I fix things? Throw it away, get a new one. I can fix it. I should fix it. The thing in my hand is more than a thing. Look at it. Every little piece and part were first drawn for a blank C-sized page. Someone thought about it, lost sleep over it. Or maybe the plate's too thin. How many screws? Where should the holes go? When I open the thing, I can see the thoughts that someone's dad, or by now their grandfather, put the pencil, and not just draw a picture, but to scale accurate to the 16th of an inch. As I peer in, oh, how clever to put one slotted hole and one knot on the other side. You can see their thoughts in the thing. I can see my father at a drafting table. Nice pressed white short sleeve shirt with a thin black tie. My mom had pressed it and starched it. using a Coke bottle with a small sprinkler head, and love. My dad. Should the edges of the top plate be beveled? How thick should the cutting arm be? Him and his friends behind the table outside at a bench, talking at lunch, how each part will fit. Hey, Bob, may you make the mounting flange a bit thicker? How many children, grandchildren, now great-grandchildren, came from those who drew those drawings to make the thing in my hand? There you go, just needed a new capacitor. Oh, see how it has its own little slot to hide in? Someone decided it needed a cozy home. It's working now. It's a memory to those who did that work. It's a little resurrection for them. I saw their thoughts and said a little prayer of thanks for the lives, the loves, and the families left. Your dad's thoughts are still alive, whirling here. Oh, and Dad, I saw one of your machines on YouTube. They call it vintage. The end.
Thank you. Is Harvey available?
I have no video.
That's okay.
Oh, start my video. There we go. Okay, hi. I'm going to read a poem about the death of Matthew Shepard. I'm also inviting you, and I posted an invitation in the chat to join Artful Dodgers Poetry, which I host and curate at the Montauk Club, which is pictured in the room behind me. It's a Zoom meeting. It's on next Saturday at 4 o'clock. All you need to do is look at the chat, save the chat, and click on the link. I hope you can join us. Let me bring up the poem. Okay. The word koshed refers to being struck with a short club, like a billy club or the butt of a gun. It was such a pretty face he had until they koshed him ugly. The cyclist who found him at first thought he was a scarecrow, left to a fence, tied to a fence and left to die, not knowing his name, Matthew Shepard, or his species, or his age, not quite 22, only the blood was real. The blood is always real. And the skull fracture that might have served as a bird feeder had he hung about any longer, all askew, almost unrecognizable as human, tortured, beaten gender-free, whipped into a smoothie by the cowboy-booted swaggerers who gave him a lift, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson of nearby Laramie, fellow students, if not exactly fellows of fellowship with him, shifting the clutch away from neutral into ill intention, a queer killing mechanism kicking in. Perhaps his wounds dripped HIV on those straights who beat him as a last defense against the hate they hit him with. He had it, the HIV. Their lawyers, of course, would later claim simple robbery gone wrong and natural enough to react. The land that time forgot, saying Matthew Shepard's hand touched a knee, that their clients, good old boys, went queer crazy as anyone might whose knee was touched by a faggot. They call Wyoming the equality state. Not much of a nickname. Not so billboard terrific as the big sky state of Montana next door, showing little Brokeback Mountain imagination, somewhat lacking for a license plate. Still, the murder of Matthew Shepard caught our attention and held it. Meet the press and a Prairie Home companion wanted to know, as did we all, when the thin blonde homo was left to die, left hanging there as a present-day FJ homo, where, pray tell, was the equality, the companionship in that? 2 life sentences consecutive, the killer's got. The bludgeoner, McKinney, without any hope of parole, in a penitentiary walled and windowed and wide as a cornfield, where they couldn't be, wouldn't be, picked apart by crows. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
hope to join us.
Thank you. Next up, let's hear from Robin, followed by Scott Kalupa.
Hi, this one is called Surfside, Texas. The sandpipers rush from one luminous prize to the next, tides ebb, each time providing a new perspective, showing us something, erasing it, showing us something else. Pickup trucks park right on the beach, flying their flags. We play a game they liked as children. That cloud, I point for my daughters. Its shape is eely, oily, like snow beasts, unmoored. We look up at the sky and say what we see. Gerrymandering, one daughter says. Voter suppression, says the other. They are the best Americans I know and not yet old enough to cast a ballot.
That's awesome, Robin. Is Scott ready to read?
I am. Let's see. Oh. Having video trouble, it seems like. Oh, well, we'll just continue on. Thanks, Fran, for keeping this going for so long. It's nice to see a lot of y'all's familiar faces from South Carolina. Anyways, I'm working on some things that are sort of about Corona and a number of other things, and they're just various sketches. So here's one of them. We could leave Monday, but the coastal connectors will crush us beneath the weight of all those golf cart towing Tahoes. Some stupid meme calls it a Corona cane, but Mom calls it several nights without sleep. Thousands are dying, and I just want to pack my blender and cast iron before the drowning starts. Din of Denali's drowning out the storm roiling up the seaboard. We thought we'd leave Tuesday when potential tropical cyclone 9 was a mother's worry stalling north of Venezuela. Krogering oftener than we should, eating half what we planned. Gratitude is a fridge overflowing with the shame of overpurchase. Did I tell you that B bought a car on Vay-fucking-K? We came to the beach and B goes home with a Lexus to replace his Lexus. Isaias is blowing their Corona north as I trek out of Babylon back to Babylon. Truth be told is usually followed with a selfish half-lie, firmly formed in rationalization's terraphalics. Everywhere I run, I take Babylon with me. Isaias is my quarantine, and I shall want to hunger. I hunger to return to my transplant, but the babies behind golf cart wheels are tipping at tropical cyclones. 3 derelict teens rolled a golf cart on Atlantic Avenue trying to catch a couple 2-foot barrels at low tide. We could leave tomorrow. We should leave tomorrow before Monday crushes this barrier island into a more gorgeous marsh.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I was catching my breath for a sec. Yes. So I have 2 more open mic readers, unless I've missed someone. Karina and then Eric, if we can. And anyone else, let me know.
John.
And okay.
Hello.
Don't forget John.
Okay, great. I've got, so we'll have Karina, Eric, John, and Karen.
Do you guys hear me okay?
A little quiet.
It's not very, your voice is not very strong.
Sorry, I'm outside at a coffee shop, so I'm gonna do my best here.
You might need to click the speaker again.
Someday the ground will open up and swallow me. Someday I'll be swept. Through the sand and the grass will become my crown of burnt paper, and he will be there, tall, steel-toed, eyes like ice in whiskey, handing me my first drink. In the bar, we'll dance to a song I hate, but I'll cling to him anyway. This is the darkness of marriage, the burial of my preferences before they can even be born. This is my set of sins reaching out from a lake where the smoke of his breath is interrupting. Look now, my heart is a mist of barbed wire. His heart is a lake where young geese go missing, show up bloody. After midnight, I don't say a single thing. My dress is deep green, knotted, feathered at the seams. Oh, isn't this what my mother never wanted? Now I have 3 heads, one for speech, one for sex, and one for second guessing. I'm meeting you all from Houston. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Eric ready?
There. Hello, everybody. I've got a little trifle that's very short. This is called Something Else Domestic. I cannot shake the feeling I should be doing laundry or washing dishes or something else domestic to make things easier for everyone. Maxwell is wearing the same pair of black pants he wore yesterday and the day before that. Of course, that's the way he likes it. He would never wear the blue jeans that had been clean and hanging in the basement for 2 or 3 weeks, even if his life depended on it. I guess it is a good thing that his life. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Hi, looks like I don't get the video, but I think you can hear the sound. Okay, wait. There we go. Okay, great, thank you. Hi, this is a poem. It's about the sacrifices and survival techniques that many of us use to get through life. It's called Working Agreement. We survive through the discard of others, the stuff of religions and armies, and also of everyday fortunes, from entry level to corner office, building attendant to managing wealth. People who serve so others can rise, people perhaps on their shoulders to reach for better. This is not just a graveside tribute before the salutes are fired and the triangled flag conveyed. The Ponzi pyramid grows, its momentum fed by glory's next step, low-level sappers inching with mess kit knives through the minefields so troops and missions advance. Deferments let chosen test passers doze while others froze in Chosen at Chosin. The worker of holiday hours covers for backyard leisure at home. The shifting of people to night enables pursuits of colleagues by day. Forget the 1% versus the 99, but ponder the top 70, riding the bottom 30. That monument point gearing downward, goading us all to join boots on the ground. Sacrifice, yielding its ritual pain, now offers risk disguised as reward. A chance to serve in the default queue, where things can only get better once we reclaim our forfeited future or rescue what's left of our uneaten escrow. What donors give, the blood bank sells. Free meals ignore the sidewalk yurts and car-huddled families sheltered under the freeway overpass. We hand out thanks to battle-dressed travelers, too small a percentage of us serving with them. Too large the numbers marking time behind bars. Many of us lead lives we dare not change, convinced of comfort zones beneath the bus, fearing to crawl out and lose our place. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, is Karen ready? And after Karen, we're going to try one more time with LH to see if we can get audio and maybe video too. But Karen first.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to share a poem, and it's also based on this Bible verse, so if you want to look at it, feel free. But that's kind of what it's associated with. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and start. Sometimes when I'm not feeling productive, I take out a sheet of paper. At the top of the sheet, I make a commitment to myself, and I don't do anything else until it's fulfilled. It's a coping mechanism, a way of convincing myself that I can do anything that I have committed to do. When I first started this exercise, I never realized that I would use it so much of what I say doesn't reflect my thoughts. It's like I intercept little bits of me before they can be caught by the worldwide. Hypertension is known as the silent killer. It's amazing how many of us fail to realize the almost fatal pressure of our own blood work has never really freaked me out. I just remind myself that I'm letting go of little parts of me, just like peeing or salivating or failing to speak. My mind tends to wander at a jogger's pace. And sometimes the rest of me has trouble keeping up on the highest shelf of the cleanest kitchen of my most pleasant dreams is where I keep my truest self. It's who I am beneath everything, when there's no one to fear or to be cognizant of or cautious around. That self is not always the easiest suit to step into. Maybe that's why it always seems to be out of my reach far enough in front of you, and sometimes it's easy to forget that anything exists other than your own two hands, two powerhouses with the potential to give life or to take it. It's only a matter of time before I fall again. I'll have to reintroduce myself because I can't seem to recognize the girl in the mirror my every move. And you begin to realize that they all blend into the same cautious one after another. Ants march in lines just like people run after anything, trading tooth for tooth, eye for eye. I don't always know what I'm doing, but when I do, it's because I've successfully convinced myself to believe it. So truthfully, I don't see any reasoning behind hiding behind masks. It's a cyclical mess of mayhem, yet people do it all the time without even realizing that there's something beyond the feeling of waiting for the applause of others. Is the first step of growth, is understanding that there's a difference between positive and negative progression, and choosing to support the right. One day, I realized that all of my pieces were created perfectly by a Father who loves me.
Wow. Thank you. We'll try one more time to see if we can get LH. Any luck?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, hold on. I'm halfway there. You can hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fran, and also all of you who read. I just really enjoy your poetry. I'm still trying, look, I'm buying time trying to work this device. Okay, let me just read a quick poem that I wrote a long, long time ago. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, in the end, no more lies, no deceit, no more troubles, no defeat, no more darkness, no more fears, no more death, no more tears, no more worries, no more doubts, no more storms that toss about, no more shadows, no more night, only truth and love and light. On the other hand, there will be screaming and gnashing of teeth. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was an excellent open mic read. Thank you, all the open mic folks. That was special, really, truly. I would like to welcome back our 4 featured poets, starting with Eris Keon.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
She did warn us that might happen.
Can y'all hear me?
I love this poem too. Oh. In fact, when I'm teaching my WIT students.
Hello. Hi, y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. Sorry. Okay. Thanks for having me again. Lovely poems in the open mic. I really enjoyed them. The poem I want to do, it's a very exciting poem for me because for me, I think of poetry as like a very interactive experience. So this one, if y'all have use of your chat function, I would like for y'all to participate in this poem with me. It's a choose your kind of own adventure poem. So I'll give you two options, A or B. And if y'all are willing to participate, you just type A or B in the chat, and that'll take me along the journey of the poem. So the first one that I see, or the one that I see the most of, is the route that I'll go. I do this particularly because this topic is extremely hard for me. So giving people agency over it in a way that allows me to navigate it in a way that feels comfortable for the audience gives me a little bit more relief, if that makes sense. So I'm going to begin with step one, and then I'll give you A or B. In all honesty, it is expensive being full. I tell no one, but everyone knows how desire has made a liar of me, saying no to my needs as my body shudders otherwise. When the storm brews in my belly, I swallow every bolt. I am not proud of how the lightning striking inside of me is more a comfort than a craving, how it is cost efficient. I learned that worldwide, lightning flashes 40 times per second, and worldwide, every 5 seconds, one child dies from hunger. If 200 strikes are never likely to touch the ground, then they must rumble between A, a cumulonimbus cloud, or B, a forest of wood standing upright in the wrong spot. B, a forest of wood standing upright in the wrong spot. I walk upright with the audacity to be alive. I use the change in my pocket to plug the hole in my chest, storing the beating heart, flowering out of me, mass, mattering in more space than I can stretch my limbs. I don't own this land, and those who do can monopolize my body, clear the space and level the ground I walk on with the flash of a dollar sign. Had I known that simply being would be expensed by the square foot, would I have planted myself here? When a tree falls, it A, is muffled by the green wrapped around the root, or B, sputters a soft sound. A, is muffled by the green growing wrapped around the root. Silence has become its own currency. Say nothing of the falling all around you, and you will earn your keep. This system is rooted in the side glance to the suffering, grown as swiftly as it's watered. The downfall pours from high places, their horses wading through the floods while we wait for a handout. We are told if we can stretch out our limbs, we must be able to swim. We make life vests from the branches, but it grows around our necks. The water rises, ringing in our ears like A, national anthem, or B, a lullaby of lightning. E, a lullaby of lightning. Sometimes I feel guilty for having an eating disorder. Other times I remember how easy it is to overlook my hunger, side glanced and sweat beneath the flashes, striking in the middle of me hidden behind a healthy smile, choosing a textbook over my next meal. My body sings a solid argument. It ends up sounding like a lullaby. Suffering has made its way into my morning routine. First essay, then breakfast. This is self-care. This crashing in my stomach sounds like A, a protest, or B, an orchestra. A, protest. When hunger strikes, instead of boarding the windows, I stand outside, upright, arms outstretched, making forests of every finger waiting for the crash. I think I'm trying to invite a violence I can actually see coming in the gray scale of an unforgiving cloud, in no one's hands but my own, a weapon of destruction I can look in the eye without wavering. But each strike is a manifestation of my body's fight for its own survival, saying, didn't I say to stay alive the first time? I've decided not to starve myself today, which is to say, I have decided my body is worth listening to. Thank you. Thank y'all so much for participating in this poem. And I appreciate y'all for listening to me. Y'all chose a really good ending. So that is it. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Bravo. I love that on so many levels. Next up, I'd like to welcome back featured poet Kaya Osborne, AKA Calypso.
Hi. Let me open up my document. Okay, so This poem is called Leo Season. I am a Leo, so it only felt right. Pageantry is an heirloom. By the time I got it, the clasp was broken, magnets missing and gaps in its teeth. I'm a wild, burnt brown sugar girl. Once upon a time, I was born, then I was motherless. The performance of loving me has plagued every conscience in sour golden leisures, the fake tooth that rots the root, the slimy crevice of an apple's wormhole. I'm a terrible surprise. Boisterous and nutrient stealing, I'm an orchestra of glittering bad decisions. My mother loved me first, and I ate her away one ungrateful glower at a time. My smiles have never reached the sun. I hate competition. My toxic trait is bowing before any captive audience if the applause is warm when I finish. Speaking of being a Leo, you should follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is in the Zoom. My Twitter is in the Zoom name that I have. It's Calypso the Poet, KHALYPSO THEPOET. I am also a tarot reader on top of being a poet. So I offer readings and stuff like that. And I also just in general say very smart, intelligent things on the internet where all smart and very intelligent things live. And this next poem is another one of my poems of the same name. It's a sweet. Perhaps it is time to admit none of us actually want to be children again. We all remember head, shoulders, knees, and toes, the first parade of self-exploration as defined by decency. I touched my own butt once, giggling like a criminal, and a teacher swatted my hands. The old heads envied my skin and youthful bounce. I always coveted their right to observe with their tongues out, bankrupt in apologies and still served. Laughing feels like currency now, and I'm rich. No one calls me cute unless I wear a special bra. Our bodies never stop being a controversy, and begging to color the air with our joy is still entitlement. Truly, what has even changed? There was that one summer none of us realized the Proud Family was canceled. And oh, my niggas, by the time we had the world lost its luster, you see, either our fathers had never come back with the bread, or they came home with extra dirt on their shoes, and our poor mothers either only had one good nerve left or two new babies to add to her brood of soft prayers that a familiar pair of cratered woolly thighs would soothe her babbling worries. And isn't it enough to know only that much? Do I really have to tell you what was playing the night almost all of us watched our fathers disappear into a bottle or a second job or the next family or the dirt? In the dry valley heat of our relentless youths, we all saw the last radiant beam of light strike our porches and wake the blue jays in triumph before ever knowing what a last chance was. And some of us, only some of us, had the good sense to call out to the warmth and beg it to return to us in our sleep when it was ready to sing the joy back into our bones, humming the rhythms of our grandmother's deepest laughs. All right, I got one more poem, and then that will be all. If I can find it. I lost it. Oh, did I lose it? Did I lose it? Not the poem. Oh, yes, here we go. Found it. Sorry. So this poem starts off with an epigraph by Boris Gardiner. Every nigger is a star, black and shining and tired. I fear water the same way I imagine my ancestors did, tongue-tied and hope-filled that the miserly depth holds life where the distance between freedom and here fails. They said, get out and vote, like men didn't stand in line at the ready, only to disappear into the nation's bloody foliage. They said, freedom of speech, like we haven't held the cauterized tongues of slaves who learned how to read while they split the night sky with their trembling screams. Truth is, the law has swallowed droves of my niggas into its boundless belly, and it's still hungry. My people ran to rivers, fed the current their bones and their names. Their faces were never loved again. I say the lost names nestled beside the morning sun, and a sky shatters, blood running rampant down its thighs like a beckon for birth or a reckoning for a redneck, a bullet, a cardinal, a slice of sweet meat. I've learned to catch what haunts, I've learned to catch what taunts the hate in my mouth and crush it like the stained rapture of a blackberry's popping. I have learned to write because that is the only gift you can give the dead. I chart the memories of forgotten generations, say all the stories they had no time to birth between the tobacco fields and the cotton gin. I give them the only freedom they ever begged for, to be heard, and yet there is absence everywhere, even between the tongue and teeth. When I say I cannot love, I mean I do not know my family's history. How one hand guided the next to its metal. How a body fell into its terror and bloomed a protest. On the night a father evacuated his veins in my city, my trembling fingers stood still. The air staled and tangled into carcinogen. There was nowhere to look but up. Thank you so much for hearing that. I just wanted to say on my last poem, that poem's called Black and Shining and Tired, and it was originally written for Stephon Clark. But I just wanted to take a second to and this is a very controversial stance, but just to say that I am no longer taking the time and space to advocate for Black men who are killed by police, who in their living time mistreat, abuse, and shit on Black women. After all the public support that I gave to Stephon Clark, I want to openly now say, fuck Stephon Clark, and fuck anyone who will shit on Black women, Black non-binary people, Black trans people, regardless.
Thank you. Thank you. So our next reader is Alexis Mercedes. Nice.
Okay, thank you so much. I really enjoyed hearing everybody else so far. Thank you so much, Eris and Calypso and Ms. O'Neill. Right now I'm going to be reading a few poems that are a little more personal and well, they're all pretty much personal, but in tone, more about the self. Okay, this is In the Beginning Was a Body. My body is a room, and I am filling it with anything but dust. Can I grow old with myself? I want the world to be filled with a glorious cacophony, like the world I live inside my head, the really real. It's what madness feels like when I repeat the groaning of the centuries. Job said he was mere dust. Paul said the earth was groaning. God said, let there be me, and in the beginning, me was beautiful to a small being like I. O small troglodyte. O small wanderer, I was so worthy of your adoration. I'm told that I was a kaleidoscope of disaster in your green, abundant garden of no more. In truth, my body is tired of making room for lovers who don't love me like the myths said they would. Tired of men who feast on skin and thieve kisses like they are Miranda rights, not the soft, heady flowers they are in the dark on the windowsill. I'm fired up until I am one big candle dripping onto one long page of rights I read myself. You have the right to remain your own for as long as you're able. And I am repeating all other women like me who suffer from so much wax and so much little space. And next is self-mutilation. The strange curdle of an elephant's howl. Did you know they bang their heads against the wall when they have lost their families? Their brains teem like flies on a carcass. What ghosts cloud the grieving insides of their skin? They are so reverently large, filled to near splitting with a grotesque of loves, composed of memory. I wield two fists like horns against myself, as though pain departs with blunt force trauma. Here I am, making blue. My memories are enemies, throat raw with a voice I picked up long ago saying, I never forget a face. Next is one a little bit more about religion in the South. This is Honeysuckle and Samson. I was strong once. Promised to God, killed a lion with my own hands. I sneered at those sick Judases kissing Jesus, unrepentant, the ones who turn away, who fall sweetly into the snare. Now I too have suckled honey from a carcass, sighed into the soft skin of a lover, and drank wine, the kind that makes you want to forget. I am my own Delilah. I cut my own hair. When it is my time to go, I will bring down the pillars of my enemies for the last time. God is not a myth. He will not be mocked, and so I will fall too, bound, locks of hair beneath my feet. And last I have for you a poem called Spores, Extant, that was inspired by the many tea cups that I usually have on my bedside table. Okay. Ceramic pink flowers and lavender and petals, sometimes chamomile, dandelion yellow. They used to drink me up, gray and fawning over my tea leaf tethers, divination, my fortune in the future, all of me in one clinking cup. I wish I could be so easy, so full again. I used to be ritualized, nighttime, loyal. Now many teacups clink together. Now many of my vessels are stacked on the nightstand. I am an amalgam of spores. I know I've been left behind. When I am finally poured out, my soul billows like a sheet in the water, some hyperactive object, some malleable ether. I've lived many lives, but you pour me out of my vessel and make me watch. You will remember me a while, but then you will forget. But I am spores. I can lie dormant for years. Watch me take over more and more of the branches. Watch me multiply, transform, flex. Watch me ball my way into existence over and over again. Your tongue will grow thick with my green, gray, bitter fuzz. I am spit out. I trickle into the drain, the holes of no return. No take me backsies, but also no forgetting. Not really ever. They do pour me out, place my vessel in the wash. I am spinning in and out of existence. As long as you need me, I'm here, and I make the world go round. I lived once, and now I am gone, and I make the world go round. Thank you.
Thank you, bravo. Our final featured poet for this afternoon is January Gill O'Neill. Please welcome her back.
Thank you. And thank you for this afternoon. What a lovely way to spend a Saturday. I got to hear some amazing readers, not only the features, but the open mic folks. So thank you. This has been great. So I'm just going to close with two poems. Here in Massachusetts, specifically in Boston, it's steeped in revolutionary history. So I wrote a poem about Old South Meeting House, which is one of the oldest structures in Boston. And it's also the site that the Revolutionary War was planned, the Boston Tea Party was planned. So feels like a time of revolution anyway. So Old South Meeting House. We draw breath from brick, step on stones, weather worn, cobbled and carved with the story of this church, this meeting house, where Ben Franklin was baptized and Phyllis Wheatley prayed, a mouth house where colonists gathered to plot against the crown. This structure, with elegant curves and round-topped windows, was the heart of Boston, the body of the people, survived occupation for preservation, foregoing decoration for conversation. Let us gather in the box pews, once numbered and rented by generations of families held together like ribs in the body politic. Let us gaze upon the upper galleries to the free seats, where the poor and town slaves listened and waited and prayed and pondered for revolution. Let us testify to the plight of the well-meaning at the pulpit, with its sounding board high above, congregations raising heads and hands to the sky. We, the people, the tourists and the townies, one nation under this vaulted roof, exalted voices speaking poetry out loud in praise and dissent. Yes, we draw breath from brick, ignite the fire in us, speak to us. The language is hope. So that poem and the ones I read before were from my book, Rewilding. And this last one is a new one for me. There was an anthology that just came out called Together Alone. I don't know if you can see that, but that is poems for this COVID time that we're in. So I had a poem in there. So this poem is called Glitter Road. And I wrote it when I was in Mississippi. It was the last poem I wrote in Mississippi. I was there for 9 months on fellowship. And in the middle of the street, there was a huge purple ink blot. You know, I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was really beautiful. It was, you know, almost like the purple in this painting. I found out later, you know, that's what the water department uses to test it's a dye to just sort of test the flow of water, but it was just random and odd. And somehow I got a poem out of that. Glitter Road. I'll take my miracles however they appear these days. A salamander poking its head above the bricks, the shocking blue overcoat of the season's first bluebird, a spider web unbroken. On the corner of Molly Ball and McElroy, I saw a thick trail of glitter in the curve of the right turn lane. Fuchsia, heavy shimmer refracting the noonday sun as if laying flat a rainbow's extracted hue. Not paint or blood or parade shedding its cheer. It's the faded streak of eyeshadow as it trails into flecks, then disappears. I think of cars passing through this moment, their undercarriages aglow with possibility. Hard not to feel good, riding a glistening wave, my tires now bespeckled with a purple sheen that's tough to rid or wash away. The road ahead made beautiful by this temporary shine. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This has been a wonderful event. And I'd like to ask all of you, if you don't mind, please stay for the group photo, which is something that we do as a tradition with public poetry. So featured poets and everyone else. I'd also like to remind you that you can find out more about public poetry on publicpoetry.net, and that we will be here again next month on Saturday, October 3rd. So you'll get information about how to log in from our website, and I hope you'll join us again. Carrie, are you ready to take a group photo?
Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Riegler. I recorded this whole reading, and I'm going to be taking the picture so we can remember it for years to come. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to turn on their face cam if you have it. It's okay if you don't. So we can all take a wonderful group picture. Here at Public Poetry, we have a special way of doing it. We like to say 1, 2, 3, poetry, and on poetry, we take the picture. And I'll be taking a few just so we can make sure we get everyone in the picture.
Can we also get the folks from the library, please? Tiffany, Justin?
Yeah, library.
Please do. Gary, Scott, Karen, please join us.
It won't let me. It says the host has me turned off.
So
give it a sec.
Okay.
Library folks are on it. It's so nice to see everybody's faces. Hello.
Hi.
Absolutely.
There's Gary. Hello.
Okay.
We got everybody we're gonna get.
Okay, I believe that's as good as we're gonna get for today.
Tiffany, Justin, are you still around? Can you please turn on if you are? Okay.
Okay, ready everyone?
I can't see. Can you see?
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, poetry.
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 Okay, let's do one more. Okay. So we're going to do one more so we get everyone because it'd be horrible to leave someone out. Okay, so ready? 1, 2, 3, poetry.
Poetry.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, lady. Thank you,
Good
everyone.
job, Gary. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you again here next month. And once again, publicpoetry.net. If you would like to support us, we'd love to have your support. We are a membership organization. Thank you. Bye.
Aloha.
Thanks, everyone.